We are on. Welcome, everyone. I am Raz. I will be your host for this session. Tuning in from Romania myself. I'm pretty sure everyone is located everywhere and tuning in for some new content as part of our EMA VMUG initiative. And today we have a really talented individual by the name of David Zaki, and I will just hand over the digital microphone to David as he will walk us through a quick intro of himself. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. David, it's all you. If you could please turn on the bring everyone to me feature. So we can basically take our hands off the mouse and keyboard and actually follow your cursor. There we go. One thing before we hop in, folks, if you want to hide the cursors, if they're distracting and it feels like there's too much happening, in the top right near your pretty face, there's an icon with a mouse cursor and two lines. If you click on that, you can toggle the cursors on and off as you wish. All right, David, this is all you. If you can do that one more time, because people may have clicked on their cursors and we're no longer following you. So let's do that again and just hop in.
So should I do it again? Okay.
Bring to me just so we can follow you one more time.
Just a second.
There we go.
That's great. Is it working right now?
Yeah, works great. Take it to the stars.
Perfect. That's a great feature. It's like having a virtual microphone. It's super when you're trying to present stuff so that everyone is following. So welcome everyone. I'm super excited about this talk. My name is David. I work and live in Germany in a city called Karlsruhe. That's a super location. It's just 1 hour away from France, 2 to 3 hours away from Munich. 3 hours away from Zurich. It's a lovely city. You can get around very easily. And at the moment I'm working as a product owner at Körber Digital, and I'll explain later what we do and who we are. Before that, just a quick introduction about myself. I did product management, or started my product management career at Tipico. Tipico is the market leader in sports betting in Germany. So the gaming industry. I spent there around 3 years. I was managing the product development lifecycle from idea till release and post-release to make sure that we actually delivered what we wanted to deliver. After that, I worked at TeamViewer, the product responsible for remote support and remote connection. And since last year, I am working at Körber Digital, developing industrial IoT solutions. Can you guys hear me, or is everything working well?
Yeah, let us know in the Zoom chat if the audio or anything is faulty, and we'll try our best to fix it. We can hear you. Right. Great.
That's great.
You have the green light from everyone.
That's cool. I dropped in my LinkedIn profile if you want to connect with me during this chat, or after, preferably after the chat. If you want to drop me a message, talk about anything that I discussed, if you have any questions, please feel free to do that. At the end of the presentation, I'm also going to share a link to a type form so you can drop me anything which we were not able to cover during the presentation. So that's it from my side. Quick introduction. Raz, should I hand back to you?
Absolutely. Thank you, David, for this intro. I know everyone's waiting for your presentation. Just as a little sneak peek, I've seen it before and it is stellar. So I'm just gonna zoom through these other bits until we get to the presentation. So everyone, if you're new to Miro, just a quick intro on some of the features and functions they should be aware of. Just like your usual infinite canvas, you use your mouse or trackpad to move around and zoom in and out. So that should be easy for you to do. If you, for example, want to switch from mouse mode to trackpad mode, you have this icon at the top right with the tiny settings, and then you can change your navigation mode if things feel weird. You can duplicate stuff around the board. You can, we have the voting feature. Then you can undo any action. Like if you, I don't know, drag any of David's slides by accident, you can always Command or Control Z to go back. And we'll be doing a few exercises throughout the whole session. So you can always come back to to this slide if you need more insight on how to use specific components of Miro. And without further ado, time for our awesome, as always, icebreaker. We just want to do a quick round of virtual introductions. And what you see here on the screen right now, and hopefully you're in the board, you see this mute map on a blue background. And we basically want you to do the following. Very simple instructions. Step one, look at the left-hand side of your screen. You have some pretty 3 dots at the bottom of that panel. If you click on that and click on Icon Finder, you're gonna be able to search for something that represents you. So try to find something that is either representative of you as a person or the location you are tuning in from. So I'm from Transylvania right now. So I'm just gonna put a nice vampire here. I'm just gonna search for a vampire. Fine, let's go for that. I'm just gonna drag it on the canvas. Here it is, tiny vampire, and try to let my geography skills kick in and try to find the approximate position of where I'm on this beautiful map. So I can actually make that a little bit bigger. So everyone, if you will, please hop into the board and just let us know where you're from. Just use the icon finder feature on the left-hand side. I have some instructions in here to guide you. So whatever feels representative to you. Basically, this is a two-part test. First off, you want to see if you can find the icon and then find your country. All right. I'm just actually going to turn on. I want to see the cursors. I want to see the colors here. Nice. Oh, someone with the cloud. Is it rainy? Sorry, Mr. Guest or Mrs. Guest. Oh, let's see where you're from. All right. I just appreciate the folks all the way from North America just tuning in at these like really early hours in the day. This is
really great.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Like this is the EMA region VMUG, but people still want to get some of that awesome knowledge they want to share, David. Oh, there we go. Someone just went in with the pre. This is great. It's like there's no icon for what I want to represent. I just want to go for Indian food. This is great. Let's check the chat in the meantime. I've been a Tom. It seems. Someone said, David, there's some interruptions in the audio, so hopefully that's no longer going to be a problem. Oh, Brittany,
my side?
Yeah. But I think it's fine. Let's just be aware of if there's any audio drops. Brittany, we should change this icebreaker to food, like straight to food. Everyone should just choose their national food and just go with it. That's just
I
so
agree.
much. Yeah. Just
but it's making me super
fun.
hungry in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm in North America, so I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you're gonna have to skip breakfast and go straight for lunch.
Straight for lunch? Austin is barbecue, so.
Oh.
It's pretty heavy in the morning.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Great job. Love everything you've done here. Someone even colored like with the pen. This is great. All right. Next up, what we want to do is if you hit the C, keyboard on your the C key on your keyboard, you're going to be able to add a comment. So just for us to check how accurate your geography is, just hit C and near your avatar, just add a comment with more of a precise location. So I'm just going to put it in here like Cluj, Romania. There we go. Just can practice some commenting skills in Miro. Here we go. See what we have here. Long Island, Brooklyn. Let's see, European, where you're from. Amsterdam, Thessaloniki. Nice, all the way from Greece, Glasgow, Scotland. There we go. Portsmouth, New Delhi, Indore. Nice. Oh, well, we have someone from Oh, it's 11 p.m. here. Someone from, from Korea. This is great.
This is super.
Yeah. David, you've attracted people spanning all around the globe.
I'm humbled by that.
Yeah, should be. All right. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. This was exciting. It actually gave us a really good idea for updating the icebreaker. We're gonna go for food next time. Just much more tasty for everyone. Colorado. Natalie from Miro. Hey, Natalie. Awesome. Looking great. Thank you so much, everyone. Hope you enjoyed our little icebreaker. And now, before we just hand it over to David to walk us through his awesome presentation, in the case, like, if you have any questions for David, you have multiple options of kind of asking those questions. We highly encourage you to use this section from the board. So start a conversation early. This was meant for you to have to leave any questions that might have struck your mind before the event and you really wanted to jot them down. What you can do if you have specific questions, just return at any point in David's presentation, return to this board and just type in your question here, one on each individual sticky note. I will be also monitoring the chat in Zoom, and I'll just try to collect all of them in here. And towards the end, we'll go through your questions and have David answer them. And if we don't manage to go through all of them, if let's say there's really a lot, David mentioned he has a type form where you can ask those questions, and he will get back to you. So, without further ado, David, I will stop screen sharing actually right now and just allow you to screen share just to make sure that we capture this in the recording for the folks that couldn't make it for the actual session. So if you could take over the screen, David, and start a presentation, we are good to go.
Right. I can see that we have 27 participants on Zoom and around 21 on the Miro board. So if anybody needs the link, maybe you can post the link so that everyone is following on the presentation because exactly perfect. So
I just pasted it here as the last message in the chat. If you lost the Miro board link, here it is. Make sure to jump on it and follow David's presentation. But we'll be screen sharing nonetheless, just so we capture it in the recording. So David, if you could please share the screen, we're good to go. You have the green light for your awesome presentation.
Good. Just give me a second.
Of course.
Right. So am I sharing my screen?
Yes.
That's perfect. So I'm going to use my favorite feature today by bringing everyone to me. Okay, perfect. So thanks again, everyone, for joining today. I'm really humbled by having all of you from all around the world. I think we have a good round of people around, so it should be super interactive. If you have questions and comments, we should have enough time to cover all of that. What I have prepared for you today is a simple process that I use to make better product decisions or to make sure I'm doing good product decisions. So we'll cover that, and I'll share with you two examples I recently of decisions that I had to make recently for the product I'm responsible for and how I went about that. After that, I'm going to share with you some list of further readings and inspiration. And at the end, we'll have some time for Q&A. So I can see that somebody has changed the presentation, but that's still fine.
Let me help you with that, David. I'll try to clean up
maybe
this.
Lock it, or lock it.
Yeah, I initially locked it, but for some reason, someone was really motivated. All right, let's lock it one more time. There you go. It's locked. Cannot move. Go for it.
Yeah. All right. By the way, I'm using a presentation feature from Miro as well, which makes the frames as slides super. But apart from that, I'll give a short introduction of where I'm working at the moment and what we do. So I am working for a company called Körber Digital. It's a sister company of Körber AG. And Körber AG is a technology group. It's like a mother company, which has around 100 other companies under its umbrella. and these 100 companies develop machines. So we're in the machinery business actually, and we develop machines for 4 different industries: logistics, pharma, tissue, and tobacco. This means that we were basically developing the machines, and we sold it to tissue production companies that were in the crisis, had to increase their production activities. Super interesting stuff. Where the digital parts comes in place, there's Körber Digital. That's the 5th business area. And at Körber Digital, we are responsible for 2 things. Or we basically do 2 things. The first thing is we're responsible for the digitalization of the mother company and all of the companies under it. And we develop digital products and services to increase the production efficiency. And when one of these products or services gets enough traction, we spin it out into a venture. So that's what we're doing. Super interesting stuff. Okay. Before sharing the process, I want to share a true belief of mine. Probably some of you have seen this Venn diagram before, which says that solutions must be viable, feasible, and desirable. I'm going to use the same diagram to explain or to shed the light on the same concept, but from a different perspective. I really believe that developing digital products is risky, and there is a lot of risks associated to it. If you don't believe me, look at the amount of startups which fail because they don't find enough traction. Look at the amount of features that are developed and nobody is using them. And the story goes on. So if you've been remotely connected to developing digital products, you know that it's a risky business, and there are, I would say, 3 to 4 categories in which you can associate these risks. So the biggest risk, or the riskiest risk of all of them, is the desirability risk, which basically cover the questions of if we build this solution or product, will the customer buy it? If it's a new feature, if he has already bought the product, will he choose to use it? Or if in the B2B space, usually the buyer is not the user, will these users still choose to use it? Are we really solving a pain and a problem that the customer or the user is facing? Is our solution that good or good enough to make him switch from how he's currently solving his problem to our solution? So a lot of risks associated to that. And not only the desirability stream, also one more risk in the desirability stream is the usability. Can they figure out how to use it? I have been honored to develop products, not for myself, but for example, machine operators, where I work at now at Körber Digital. These are not tech-affine people, and they can't figure out things quickly as much of the new generation like us. I've also developed digital products for builders, workers, and really, if it's not as simple as possible, they cannot figure out how to use it. The second set of risks is related to the feasibility stream, which covers, can we actually build this? Do we have the necessary skills? Can we operate it if we build it? Do we have the necessary skills and tools, or can we afford to buy it, given the time and the resources that we have, the time and the money? And the last set of risks covers the business viability risks. Can we sell and market this product? Is our sales and marketing people and channels suitable enough to sell and market this product? Can we generate value from it, whether it's money or any terms of value? Does it work for us? Do we have the necessary skills? Is it within our legal constraints that we can develop the solution? So it is really a risky business to develop digital products, and but luckily it's not only me who figured that out. Many people know about that, and there are several ways we as product managers or if you're working on a product team, there are several things that you can do to reduce the risk and make sure you're developing actually the right thing. So before I share the process, I want to go over a simple set of principles. And this is what I keep in mind, and this is how it helps me to reduce the risks imposed in developing digital products. So the first risk, or the first principle basically, is that I believe that everything is an assumption until we prove otherwise. I will share with you later what happens when somebody comes to me as a product person and asks for a feature request. It's usually full of assumptions. So you gotta believe or follow the principle that says that everything is an assumption, because this is where risks show up. They don't show up and say, I am a risk. They show up in this set of assumptions. The second principle is, or that helps me to reduce the risk, is frequent customer contact for the whole product team. The most effective and the cheapest way to test your assumptions is to really bring it as fast and as often as possible in front of customers or users. And not only for the product person, but as I said, there's feasibility risks that the technology or the engineers should tackle or should be responsible for, and usability risks, which usually the product designer helps to tackle. So if you cannot bring the whole team, what I try to do, bring at least the core product team, one of the lead engineers and the product designer to customer interviews and usually customer contact. The third principle is I like to rely on collaborative thinking and decision making, because from my experience, I worked one day in the gaming industry. The second day I was in the software as a service or remote services. This is a totally different industry. Today I'm developing digital products for industrial IoT. I cannot have all of this information in me, right? Or I cannot know everything. This is why I really rely on collaborative thinking and decision making. And this is why I love Miro, because now where everyone is remote, and even before that, you never have everyone in the same room. Miro is a perfect tool to bring this information out of the people. This does not mean that it's designed by committee or that the stakeholders figure out what to do on the product. I'm still accountable for the product, for the success or failure of the product, but I need this insights and information that they have. So this is why I really like the collaborative thinking principle. The fourth principle, and I know this it has a lot of confusion about it, that product owner, or I believe that product ownership is a team sport. I understand we get the term product owner from the Scrum, from the Agile word, and he should be the owner, but this doesn't mean he owns every decision, right? If the engineers don't own the engineering stream, the feasibility stream, if they don't own the solution, if they don't feel this ownership, if all of the decisions are delegated to the product person, it won't work. Same story for the usability. If the product designer does not feel the ownership about the designs of the product, and still the product person, owner or manager, needs to decide on the color, on the coloring scheme, and about everything, then it simply doesn't work, because the product owner or manager at some point burns out from the amount of decisions. What I truly think that the core responsibility, and this is principle number 5, of the product person is to determine the next opportunity to be built in the product. This is what many people believe to be true, like Marty Kagan is a thought leader in the product space. Also, this is what the Scrum, by the way, Scrum manifesto says, that the product owner should maximize the value of the product. For me, this means as a product person, I should be looking out for the next biggest opportunity to build in order to maximize the value of the product, whether that means a specific business outcome like revenue or conversion or whatever, but their main responsibility is for the product person is to find that opportunity, and opportunities usually show up in terms of problems. And if you find enough people or a lot of people in which you can solve a problem for, and this works for them, then you increase the value of the product. The last principle, also from my experience till now, it's much better, and this is what I try to do, to work on business outcomes and user problems instead of feature requests. And I will share with you the process, what I do when somebody shows up to me with a feature request. But you have to match, or what I try to do is I try to match the user problem with a business outcome. It's just working on feature requests for the sake of feature requests without having the big picture, without even knowing why are we doing this, or which needle will it move, is a bad idea, and it does not lead to focus. So try to focus and work on business outcomes and problems. Okay, so that was a lot of theory, and but this is not everything. Let's see how this looks in the practice. So this is a simple process. I didn't put every step in it, but this is more or less the major steps that I try to do when deciding to add a feature or not, or to work on opportunity. I try to put it in a user journey, because I believe a lot of product designers are also listening to us. So I prefer to use the term product person to avoid the confusion of product owner and product manager and product leader and associate. Just really talking about the person who will decide, or who is responsible for deciding, should we add this feature to the product or not? And in this simple process, this product person is trying to decide whether to add a feature or not, which is a decision I myself have to make most of the time. So usually somebody shows up with a feature request, whether it's an internal stakeholder or an external customer or user, or somebody from the company, customer support, from sales, from marketing, the CEO, somebody shows up with a feature request. And they have all of the reasons why we should definitely work on this feature request or implement this opportunity and solve this problem. And they think that if we do this, the world will be a better place. The first thing I do, based on the principles and my belief that developing products is a risky business, I actually call for a meeting with them, right? And for example, nowadays we cannot have an in-person meeting, so this is where Miro comes in place. I call for a meeting, and we try to fill out one of the canvases. I'll show an example in the next slide. There are plenty of good canvases out there, like the opportunity canvas or the lean UX canvas. You can even find feature canvas on Miro. The purpose of the canvas is to help you figure out the opportunity size, the underlying assumptions, and it also helps me a lot to avoid working on a solution request. By the way, it's much better to present the engineering team and the product team with a problem than to say we want this feature as it is. It's really, it makes a lot of difference for the engineers if you just give them a solution request or if you bring them in the discussion about the problem. And as I said, the purpose of the canvases is just to make sure you gathered, all of the story, you gathered all of the answers for the most important questions. And then depending on the company, if you have a lot of stakeholders and they are involved and they have a loud voice in the product, bring the answers of this canvas, the exercise that you did with the feature requester or whoever requested the feature, bring it back in some sort of a stakeholder meeting, a bi-weekly meeting, a monthly meeting where the stakeholders of the product are there and share with them the learning. And what I'm trying to do over there in this meeting is to gather the input of everyone, again, because maybe the requester has a blind spot, maybe I missed something, maybe I'm new into the company. I just want to get the input of everyone. And this also, one good thing about it, if this is a bad idea, it's much better if the other stakeholders tell this one stakeholder, this is a bad idea. Instead of you going to every stakeholder and tell him this is a bad idea. It's a nice trick to use. If we all decide that this is a bad idea and we will not put it into discovery, I will cover in a minute what discovery is. We document, or I try to document the decision and why we decided that way. Maybe it's out of focus, maybe we don't have time for it, maybe nobody believes that this is a good idea. And I put it on Confluence or somewhere to make sure that everyone knows why we decided that way. So to make sure we're transparent enough. And I'm pretty sure somebody else will ask about it in 1 or 2 quarters. This happens all of the time. But if we decide to put it in discovery, and this is the majority of what we do, because at this moment, if it's not a terrible idea, we don't know enough about it, right? Putting it into discovery means exactly we're going to run experiments. Experiments mean we're going to do customer interviews, problem interviews. We're going to do fake buttons, fake features. We're going to develop mockups. We're going to develop landing pages. And in this stage, what I would like to see, or what I'm trying to get at, I want to increase my confidence level that if I decide in the next stage, in the build stage, to build this feature, that it will actually be a success, right? I will get in a minute into examples, but this is very important, and this is what the product discovery is about. You got to have some sort of evidence that people want this feature in the way you will implement it or the product before you build it. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. You know nothing about it. You probably heard about get out of the building and the lean startup, and like it's all about the same thing. And the thing is, I don't want to waste the engineers' time to do these experiments. I want to do the least investment that I can do to figure out the assumptions. I have 2 examples I will share with you in a minute. But then if everything works well and we have a lot of confidence, again, I bring it to the stakeholders, I make sure they're engaged, and then we decide to build it. Build it means we start a product delivery process, whether it's Scrum or Kanban or however you're developing the product. For me, it means I start by setting up my product requirements document. We will start working, or probably it has already been started, the solution architecture. Start bringing the topic into the refinements, and then we basically build it, right? And at this stage, I'm looking for scalable software, something that will work, and then many people can run on it or run their businesses on it. This is totally different than what I'm expecting when I'm running experiments. When running experiments, I'm basically developing or asking for things that will not work on the long run. So these are the major 4 steps that I try to go through. More or less, I adapt a little bit according to where I am working and how the environment is. But that's what more or less I try to do. And the most important thing that you need to have some sort of evidence before you start working on a product or a feature or whatever. Let's see how this looks like in real life, right? So this is an example of a decision that I had to make recently for the product that I'm responsible for. The situation is the following. We're a B2B web-based product. We have a few customers, and it's still a young product. And then our focus is on retention. Of course, that's what you do when you're young, try to make people use the product. And there was a request from one of the customers actually to have a feature. So just in the B2B, usually the buyer is not the user. So this is somebody who decided that his organization would use my product. My product shows KPIs for production. So how fast are we producing, for example, toilet paper? How many toilet paper did we produce this week and stuff like that? So KPIs related to production. And the customer requested a feature so that he can enter some email addresses, and these guys would get a report at the end of the shift or at the end of the working day with these KPIs. Because they, his assumption, doesn't say this is an assumption, right? But he thinks that this would increase user retention. So this is the situation. And now, if I mean, for me, I understand the requirement quite well. If I take this and write it into user stories or put a product development, a product requirements document, or ask the designers to design it, then I have already made the decision to put it into, to add this feature to the product. But I have no evidence that this will work out. I have no evidence if I build this feature that actually these users or this persona will click on the link or click on the link that they got into the email and go to my product and continue using it. There's nothing that proves this. So what we did is that we filled the canvas with him. This is, for example, a Linux canvas. And I also filled it, included the product team. And the canvas usually, or what the canvas does is that it helps you to figure out a lot of questions. What is the business problem we are solving at the moment? Are we filling a gap in the market? Are we catching up with competition? What are we doing, right? And then the second question is the business outcomes. How will I measure that this actually worked? So in our case, it was about user retention. So this is how we would figure out that it actually worked, which is a valid. I really want to increase retention, right? This is one of the ideas how I want to increase retention in my product. The third thing, who are the users and the customers? And the fourth area is, what are these guys trying to do, right? What is their goal? What do they want to achieve? What is their pain point? And from the boxes 1, 2, 3, and 4, you can, with the team, find different solutions to fix this problem. But the most important thing, or what we do, is we formulate a hypothesis statement. This is what you see in box number 6. And this is basically, it's a formula that you can just follow. This is how we formulated the hypothesis statement for this very precise request. So it said, we believe that we increase user retention if this persona, specific persona in the company, receives a summary of the most important KPIs delivered to them as an email at the end of the shift or at the end of the working day. The result of doing this exercise and not deciding immediately to add it, that we did an investment of 2 man-days of 1 engineer instead of 5 engineers in 2 sprints. That's my team. And the KPIs to measure, or what I'm waiting for to increase the confidence to add this feature, is I'll simply look really. So we'll send this email. Sorry, I missed something important. So after formulating the hypothesis, there are 2 very important questions. What is the most important thing we need to learn first? And what's the least amount of work we need to do to learn the next most important thing? I filled this with my team. And the most important thing we need to learn is that actually these users will click on the link we sent them and they will navigate to the product. But the least amount of work we can do is not to build the feature, right? We can simply send manual emails with tracked links and figure out if people actually click on the link or not. We agreed with the team to have some sort of automated emails that would trigger at the end of each working day, and we are tracking the number of links. The result is, back to the results part, that the investment is a totally different investment, right? So 2 man-days of 1 engineer is totally different than 2 sprints of 5 engineers. And what I'm looking for is some confidence that if I actually decide to add this feature and waste 2 sprints, 1 month of 5 engineers, that it will actually work, and that the number of users which get this email will go to the product and stay using it. Yeah. So this is one example of how I go about deciding features. It's don't get hung up with a canvas. There is a lot of canvases. It's just make sure that so any of these canvases basically they help you to figure out the most important questions. So whatever canvas you feel comfortable with. I like this canvas. I also like the opportunity canvas. Yeah, if you're developing a product from scratch, maybe you want to use the startup canvas or the business model canvas. Whatever canvas you're using is just make sure it covers all of the questions. What I like about this canvas a lot is these 2 questions, and I recommend that also you fill it with your team. What is the most important thing we need to learn first? And what is the least amount of work we need to do to learn the most important thing? If I say to my team, we want to develop this feature, is very different than we tell them we want just to test this assumption, right? Okay, let's look at a second example. So the situation is still the same. We're still in the same product. As I said, our product is web-based, and we still have limited number of customers. Everything is still the same. And we got a request. That's a typical request you get if you're responsible for a web-based application or a web product. We want this on mobile. Well, there is probably 10 to 20 ways how you can make this mobile, right? I have no evidence that if I invest the time and effort of my team to make this mobile, that it will improve anything. I have no evidence at this point. So long story short, this is my course of action. What I did is, again, I used the lean UX canvas. You can find the templates on Miro to formulate the business problem, get the stakeholders around the business problem. At this point, I figured out that we are catching up with competition. It's a valid business problem, I must say. And the user outcomes, that was an interesting part because the stakeholders assumed that the current feature set, which we have on the web application, would fit the user needs, right? I didn't have any evidence, so I decided to do something else, right? To limit the investment, the amount of resources we invest into this opportunity, and put the opportunity in discovery. Remember the process? There was the running experiments, that's the discovery part. So how this looks like is that we will do, or we're doing small tweaks to the web application to make it mobile friendly. And we're gonna measure the product access via mobile, how many people are trying to access our product via mobile. And we're of course gonna conduct customer interviews to better understand the underlying pain points. We are still in this process. Again, if you look at it from an investment perspective, to make a mobile application of the product I'm responsible for, with the current resources, I would need around 6 sprints of 5 engineers. To do the small tweaks, that will cost me only 2 sprints, right? And what we are figuring out right now from the customer interviews, that the current feature set does not cover everything that the customer wants from a mobile application. I'll give you another example. If you look at Miro, I use Miro every day, right? But the current feature set, which I have on the web application or the desktop application, does not fit at all what I want to do from a mobile. Like, I don't want to access Miro from mobile to prepare a presentation like the one I did right now. I maybe want to review it. I maybe want to add a note that I have on my wall, but I don't want to do the same things I want to do from a desktop. And these sort of things, you can just figure them out from conducting customer interviews. And always think about the investment and involve your engineers in finding out the right solution. Yeah, so these were 2 examples. I have a further example, but this is not in the product discovery, However, it was in product delivery. What you see is our release process for the product that I'm responsible for. What happened is that we have a team, some senior engineers have been with the product since the beginning, and new engineers, and nobody was able, or nobody knew how to do a release except one engineer. And we started figuring out, we're seeing that he's overworked. Basically everyone was already on home office during the Corona time. What we did is that we gathered everyone around the Miro board. We mapped out the whole process of how to do a release, and all of the pain points. Why is it stressful? How can we improve it? And this really helped the team, all of the team members, to understand the whole process. It took the knowledge out of one person, which is one senior engineer, and it shared this information with everyone. And this is again why I really love Miro. And the result is that we rotate in our team. Every release somebody else does conducts the release. This would have not been possible without this collaborative thinking, right? Taking the information of one person and sharing it with a lot of people. Yeah. So if you liked what the thoughts that I shared, and if you also believe in some of them, I recommend that you read a couple of books. The first one is called Inspired, How to Create Products Customers Love by Marty Kagan. He is a great product leader in the product world. You can also read the book Linio X from Jeff Kotthelf. Or, by the way, it's not about user experience. The Linio X book talks about how to formulate the problem and how you use the canvas and what is the process you go through, very similar to what I said, and what different type of experiments you can do and stuff like that. And the third book that I can also recommend to read is The User Story Mapping by Jeff Patton. It goes along the way. Jeff Kotthelf and Jeff Patton, they do a lot of trainings together, so they have the same thinking. It goes along the ways of what I said in this presentation. This is where I was inspired. This is where I heard all about it. And this is what I'm reading. All right. So, long story short, developing digital products is risky, believe me. Make sure you understand the underlying assumption or assumptions behind each request. Don't just work on a feature request because somebody asked. Try to understand the user and the business problem we're trying to solve. There is probably not only a single solution for each problem. There is a lot of solutions for each problem. Involve your engineers in figuring out that. Increase your confidence level if you're the person who's deciding about adding a feature. Increase your confidence levels by running experiments. This is easy things that you can do with your team to make sure you're doing the right thing. And talk to your customers, and talk to your customers. Okay, thank you everyone for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. There are two ways in which you can contact me. You can use the type form link so basically this one. So basically Raz, when he saw the presentation, he told me that people might be interested in some sort of a more detailed version of the process on deciding on features. If this is true, just please go to the form and fill the form quickly so that I can basically know how many people would be interested in that, and I promise to send it out to you. Otherwise, if you want to just connect with me or talk about anything related to product, please connect with me on LinkedIn. The link is also available. So, time for Q&A.
Oh, David, let me say, I mean, this is really awesome, and it's so fun because I was kind of looking at the recommendations that you were giving on books and things to read, and actually just popped in my mind. I just added something to your board, so apologize if I intrude into your board. But kind of those three like pieces of knowledge, like Jeff and Marty, like I know all of their work. I just felt that adding one more to it, it's called The Right It from it's Alberto Savoia. It's really nice for people that want to find really cheap ways of validating whether something is worth building or not. So he talks about this thing called prototyping. So kind of like pretending to prototype. It's a really great source of inspiration. I just added that Amazon link in there. You can just search. He's a Stanford scholar, teaches at Stanford. It's really a great resource that blends so nicely with everything else that you've put in there. So that's it's definitely going to be something that I think people will be interested in, and if it's useful to you. So I apologize if I just intruded in your slides, but just felt that it belonged there.
That's fine. That's all good. I'll
Brilliant.
read it myself. I'll make sure to read it myself.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, David. This was really insightful. I mean, I've seen the presentation before, but just hearing the delivery is really great, and I'm sure everyone found it interesting. Let's have a look at the questions real quick. So it seems like we have 3 questions, and everyone, if you still have questions for David, now that you've heard his thoughts and his process, feel free to drop them either in the Miro board in this reddish section here or in the chat. So I'm just going to go ahead, David, and ask you for the first question. So how do you limit how do you limit what others can do on a Miro board? Example, preventing messing with the board.
I think this is a question to you.
Just locking the content. So you can just basically just drag over a piece of content, a frame, a board, a sticky note, and then you can just hit lock, and then no one can mess around with it and drag it. Just the same way I did it with David's presentation. So that's a Miro tip right there. Just lock your content and you should be just fine. Let's go then with the second one. Feels like more on your lane. So how frequent should you do customer interviews in product development? How do you reach out? This one's good.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, how often do you customer interviews? Is the answer is very simple, as much as you can, really. So this is one advice which is in every product book and which I also truly believe in. Try to do it every week. Really, try to have a schedule in which you talk to customers every week. Depends on, so the second question says, how do you reach out? It depends on the business when you are. If this is an online business, you'll find people on forums, you'll find them on Quora, you will find it on Reddit, you will find people. If it's an online business, you will find people online. If I worked at where I was responsible for products where people were not online. So I had to go where they are. So I was developing digital products for retail. So I basically retail means shops. I went to the shop every week or every 2 weeks and talked to the people. And it's easier if they're offline because you know where they are. Yeah, I hope that answered the questions.
This is a product, kind of a follow-up question that I have. When you do customer interviews, what's the sweet spot in terms of the number of people that you do interviews with? What's that threshold of people that after a certain point, things get redundant and you kind of find out the same things? Like for my experience, for when you do user testing, like usability testing, it's typically like 5 people. That's kind of like the sweet spot. After that point, it doesn't really warrant to talk to more people because you're just going to find out the same things over again. So when you do interviews for like part of the product development process, what's your go-to number?
Yeah, it really depends on the stage of the product and what answers you're getting. If you're starting to get the same answers again, then you already know the answer, right? I think 5 is also great. But if you are, for example, if it's an early product, like the one I'm responsible for right now, you need this really until you start to see conversions, you're figuring out a lot of things. Yeah.
Sure. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's
Third
see this.
question is about the. Oh yeah, sure, please.
Go for it. So you said you're using some Miro templates with your team. What are they?
Oh yeah. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen. So templates, I use everything is a process. You can always use a user story map. This is one of my favorites. We use that. If you just type canvas, right? There's a feature canvas, there's a lean canvas, there's a lean UX canvas, there's a business model canvas, there's an opportunity canvas, one of my favorite, just added it. Depends on the exercise you're running. If it's a big opportunity, I run opportunity canvas. If it's a feature like middle size, I run the lean UX canvas. If it's a small change, I still I also found this feature canvas. I didn't know about it before, but it's also good. It just helps you figure out the whole story. Besides that, this is what we use in product discovery. In product delivery, we run our retros on Miro. Planning, we don't do in Miro, but the retrospectives, we run all of the retrospectives on Miro. We have one big board in which we see all of the sprints, how things evolved over time.
Awesome. I think that's the best way of answering this question. Just open a template, search canvas, and that's it. Great.
Yeah.
All right, let's see the next one. So how do you compare business value at Körber? How do you do this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Value is not always money. I'm not sure if I can answer about Körber, but one thing I can tell you is try to achieve value understanding on the stakeholder level or the CEO's level. Like on your stakeholder level, try to all understand that this means value. Value does not always mean money. It always should at one point mean money, but it's not always about money. If you're increasing reach, if you're trying to change, if you're catching something in the market, or if you're increasing sales. So for example, our mother company is in the machinery business, so they try to sell machines. If I, with a digital product, increase the chances that customers buy more machines from us, or we get some more market share, then I have delivered value to Körber.
Awesome. Great reply to an equally great question. All right, let's see the long question. Who wrote this manuscript? Have you used Miro to produce a product roadmap? ? How do you do one that is flexible enough to be problem/experiments oriented versus just a list of features, but also clears to external stakeholders what they might expect? Wow, this is brilliant.
This is a great question. This is one of the best questions. So, okay. I hope I can answer this in as short as possible. So, product roadmaps. Did I do a product roadmap at Miro? Yes, I just sent an email yesterday with a final roadmap till the end of the year. Why I was able to do that? Because I had enough work that has been decided on that we will do till the end of the year. So a roadmap, and by the way, use this for any other kind of strategy, vision, whatever the keyword is. Try to find out what questions should this keyword answer. A roadmap should answer the questions, what are we doing till when, right? And if I know as a product person, if I know what are we doing till when, and in our case, it's a very specific case, we knew what needs to be done, and this filled out till the end of the year. So I just put them in bars. There is a template also in Miro. So you see, worked out with the team. This needs 2 weeks. This needs 2 months. This needs this amount of time. Calendar weeks. We figured it out. This does not work in every case, and usually doesn't work. If you don't know what, or you have a lot of problems, there are 2 alternatives. Use OKRs, objective and key results. Try to say, in this quarter, we will try to move this business outcome, increase retention or increase revenue or whatever the outcome is. Or one of my favorites is a problem-based roadmap. Say in this quarter or in this year, we're going to tackle these problems. So very similar product to the one I'm responsible for from the customer interviews. We hear pain points. So I asked my colleagues, what's your roadmap? And he said, David, in Q3 and Q4, we're going to fix these pain points. We don't have a feature for it, but we know that this is a pain point, and the customers, everyone said this is a pain point for them or a problem for them. So this is our focus. Yeah. How we're going to do it doesn't matter.
Right. Both great ideas, David. And if I might add, this is a topic that I'm personally kind of invested in right now, is trying to understand what's the supporting other set of things that a company needs to do on their product in order to make it better, not just a roadmap. So exactly how the question asked, like, how do you do one that is flexible enough to be problem/experiment oriented versus a list of features? And something that we found super relevant and extremely kind of like a direct answer to the question is using the North Star metric framework. That basically allows you to kind of say, okay, this is a roadmap, which is obviously kind of the guiding set of things that we need to do. But you have the North Star metric framework, which involves these sort of iterative experiments and basically really small adjustments to existing features and to your product. That's basically an accumulation of best case scenarios that you want to try out in parallel with your roadmap. So I don't know who asked this question, but you get the digital award for, I think, one of the best questions in the VMUG so far from my perspective. This is a really great question. Like, props to
yes. I still share the pain. Not everyone understands this, and not everyone expects this. And I know CEOs who want to see, okay, till when are we finishing this feature? It's hard. But we're all trying out there.
Sure. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Where do you keep the assumptions, canvases, and artifacts of all your opportunities? In Miro or another ALM tool?
I love Miro. I just keep them in Miro, and I also love to see how they evolve over time.
Yeah.
All right. So you start at one point, and then things evolve over time.
All right. Short and sweet. Next one, beyond a lean canvas, is there a prioritizing technique that you feel works best with the stakeholders and users best for your work?
It really depends a lot on the situation where I am and the stakeholders. Just there's one catch about this question. If you're talking about prioritization, then you already have enough amount of features and you're figuring out which feature should come before the other one, right? Or you have enough amount of pain points that you want to solve, right? There are a lot of frameworks out there. Make sure you just have some sort of cost versus effort. Effort versus impact. I without understanding really the situation and everything, I wouldn't just say this is the one prioritization tool that we use. It really depends on, if you have a simple stakeholder setup, use a simple technique. If things are complicated, use a more advanced technique. But then make sure that actually the items that you're prioritizing, that they are validated somehow, right?
Right. Awesome. Thank you. Next one, and I can take this one if that's fine. So does Miro have an infinitely large modeling space? Virtually, it does. I've personally been using Miro for more than 3 years, and I've never run out of space. Let me tell you that. So you basically have an infinite span of space that you can just do whatever crazy things you want. So feel free to use it. All right, David, for you, follow up on the business value. Do you write down the assumed business value anywhere? How do you know what to do first?
Good question. So maybe this is not the best answer, but I'm just trying to be honest. From my experience, what I try to do is to agree on the value with the stakeholders. It depends on the product and depends on the setup. But if I'm responsible for a product and everyone, you need to understand the setup for, like, I can only talk from the example of Körber. Körber is a machine in the machinery business. Value for them means either money or selling more machines or selling after sales. This is value for their world, right? They don't really care about, I don't know, the conversion rate, for example. This is value for them, right? If you're developing a product, also from my experiences for internal use, value will show up in different terms. Can they do more things with the product? Are they more efficient? Are you saving time for the employees of the company? So it really depends on the setup. I think one book that might help on that is Value Proposition Design. But value does not always, I mean, at the end of the day, it should somehow relate to money, but it does not have to be directly revenue. But that's a tricky one. That's a tricky one because you need to agree on it with your stakeholders.
All right, let's see the next one. So, can Miro have smart icons, cards, artifacts that, for example, automatically change color if a state in an external issue tracker system changes? All right, I could try to answer this. I've personally never used something like this where like an element on the Miro board basically changes state. I know there is a Jira integration, which you can freely use, and you can basically track issues from Jira inside of Miro. And other than that, I think you have the flexibility to develop your own plugins. Brittany, feel free to chime in if there's anything.
Correct with both of those.
Okay.
We don't have the Jira integration set up on this account, but we could definitely try to do that. And I can send in chat like information about that integration. But yeah, it's either the Jira integration or you can kind of build your own, and it works fine.
Yeah, I know there's kind of like an option for like third-party external widgets or whatever tools you want to build. You're free to do that. So that would be it. So thank you so much, Brittany. Okay, so I think we're at the end of the questions. I think one of those VMUGs where we actually got so many questions. It's really great to see that. So David, congrats! You've really sparked people's interest in this topic, and mine as well. Really loved the questions in here. And thank you for being with us today. And what we're gonna do now, if you return to the Miro board, we have a section where we would really love to get some of your feedback. So we have 2 simple exercises. So if you could, I'm just gonna bring everyone to me. All right. So basically what I'm showing here right now is basically a place where we want to catch some of your votes. So looking at the matrix that we created here. So the degree of knowledge application is on the horizontal axis, and the knowledge gains is on the vertical one. So try to click and drag these bubbles on the right, the yellow bubbles, and just place them in the area on the matrix that you feel applies to you. So you either learned a lot but doesn't apply to you, you learned a lot and you can apply it all, you didn't learn much and can't apply it, and you can apply a little that you learned. So this is just for us to understand how much the topic resonated with you. Thank you, Olga. Thank you for being here. Anyone else wants to cast their votes? Okay, great. And one more quick exercise for y'all is we have this other frame underneath. It's accolades, improvement, suggestions. So you can drag the sticky notes on the left and just tell us what went well, what could be better, and what should come next. Like some ideas of what you like to see in future VMUG sessions. So if you could take a few seconds to a minute to just drop your accolades, improvements, and suggestions, we would really appreciate that. So what should come next? Could you please organize an ideation session via Miro to experience process? I don't know who placed that, but if you can give us a little bit more details with an additional sticky note telling us exactly what you'd like, we're more than receptive to take that into consideration. So it was a guest artist. Useful and insightful. David was a great speaker.
Thanks a lot. I'm really humbled by that.
Was really, really great seeing your process. And as I said, when we were kind of reviewing the presentation, you should definitely turn this into a real process, just mix and matching things that are out there, because I feel it just it's something people could definitely use and repurpose for their own products.
Sure, can publish it as a process or a template on Miro.
You definitely should. Because
Yeah.
there's going to be a special place for people that do exactly that.
Yeah.
So what should come next? How different business problems solve with Miro templates? Wow, this is a good one. We have real example. Very good. Thank you. Very helpful. I feel like someone is undecided. He kind of has an improvement, but a suggestion at the same time. So that's interesting. Okay. Creating a flexible roadmap in Miro. I have a feeling that the person who added that is the one who added the roadmap question.
It's super easy to create. It's really super easy to add a roadmap on Miro. I did one very quickly. I mean, it depends if you're just trying to create the artifact or the workshop behind it. That's a totally different story. But the artifact, drawing it and making it look neat and nice, this was super easy. And there is a template about that.
Inside good tips, David. Very useful. Nice. UX design focused talks. Thank you, Olga. We'll keep that in mind. Noted. Good tips. Value. Super useful. Okay. Awesome. Really great split. David, you've nailed it. Like, what could be better? Almost nothing. It's perfect. So someone's like the undecided one, like how to track business value. I'm still not quite sure how to track it. Most of the times it's money, but if you kind of look at money as the outcome, is not really business value, you can kind of extrapolate from that. But
yeah, maybe it would help to just Google outcome versus output. Also, maybe it's a deep topic. It's a deep topic. But I also wanted to shed. Yeah. It's
the same thing as value versus features.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot about this content from people like I think the link that you shared, Raz, and also people like Jeff and they're all about this.
Yeah, agreed. All right, looks like we have all our accolades, improvement, and suggestions. And with that, everyone, we're wrapping up our 6th edition of the EMA VMUG series. As always, we have new speakers every month, so make sure to keep an eye out in your inbox for our following sessions. Thank you so much, David. You've been really, really awesome. We appreciate your time and commitment and presentation. We really I personally learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone who's here with us did the same. We're going to continue the conversation on the Miro online community, so make sure to click on the link here, community.miro.com. And for more events, not just the EMA region, but we have a lot of other types of events. Go to events.miro.com, and you're gonna be able to check them out there. So
it's just one last comment from my side. If you have any questions, more questions, or if you're really interested in the process, just drop me a message on LinkedIn or use the type form so that I just have a feeling of the interest, basically.
Yeah, and don't worry, this recording will be sent to you once it's processed and uploaded to YouTube. We're going to send it to everyone who RSVP'd. You're also going to get access to the board for 1 more week after we wrap up. So if you want to revise everything that we talked about, check David's notes and slides. Those are going to be available for you. So everyone, thank you so much. David, if you could stop screen sharing so we just have one more look at all these beautiful people. There we go. Thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate your time. David, you've been a digital superhero. Thank you so much. And
Thanks
everyone,
for having me.
have a great rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.